In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make this super easy and very delicious creamy no-churn ice cream, and we're going to be using my new favorite goat milk product. So pull a chair up to the stove and turn on your favorite podcast, because today we're going to be making cajeta. Cajeta is very similar to caramel and dulce de leche, so if you love those, you're definitely going to love cajeta too. You will need a vanilla bean pod, 4 cups of raw goat milk, 3/4 cup of sugar, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 plus 1/8 baking soda, and of course your measuring spoons for this. So to start out, I just cut those vanilla pods in half using a paring knife. I recommend buying fresh ones. I just pulled these out of a vanilla extract bottle that I had. But I would recommend getting the fresh ones because they're probably going to give you a better and stronger flavor. So for this recipe, I'm using a large pot that has a round bottom. It's really important that you use one that has rounded sides so that there's not anything that gets stuck in there, because you don't want it to burn because that's going to affect the flavor. So you're going to go ahead and put in all of your ingredients. Oh my goodness, why am I getting so much milk everywhere? Which cup are we on? Is this the last? That's the last one. Okay, I better clean this up. Okay, good. You definitely want to make sure that you're cleaning up the stove if you do get anything on the stove, because the way that you can tell if the milk is burning while you're making this recipe is if you smell burning milk smell. So if you have it on the stove, that's a problem. So as you can see here, I am turning my heat of my stove to a medium heat. I actually did it a little bit less than what I showed there. It's really important for cajeta that you go low and slow with the temperature. Like I said at the beginning of this video, you're pulling up a chair and you're turning on a podcast, because seriously guys, this usually takes me about an hour to an hour and a half to get it there. But if you try to rush it, you're gonna get some weird textures going on. So low and slow. You're shooting for a low simmer here. As you can see, it's a little bit hard to tell how it's boiling because of the color of the pot. But you should see that it's getting foamier about, I think this was probably 15 to 20 minutes into the cooking process. But you're going for a low simmer. If it starts going into a roaring boil, or you start getting skin on the top that's forming, you know, you're probably going to get a weird texture. So when you're making cajeta, some recipes say that you can stir frequently. I recommend stirring pretty much constantly, especially as the milk starts to turn this golden color. It's gonna scorch pretty easy at this point. Also, if you start hearing like weird like growling sounds almost, you need to stir more vigorously because that means that the sugars are sticking to the bottom of the pot. As you can see here, we still have that nice smooth texture. As you can see, we are almost to the end of the cooking process, and I am stirring pretty quickly at this point. You want to make sure that you are almost constantly scraping the things off of the sides, because those will scorch. They'll get back into the cajeta and make weird chunks that you don't want in there. Yeah, as you can see here, I am stirring quite quickly. That's definitely what you're going to have to do until it's done cooking. So the way that I learned that you can tell when it gets closer to being done is if you drag your spoon through it, you want that gap in the middle to stay open for about a second. So as you see there, that is the consistency of my cajeta when I stopped, and this is what it's looking like. So obviously you can cook it a little bit longer or a little bit less depending on how thin you want the consistency, but that 1 second rule, that's usually what I go off of. Okay, so let's get into the ice cream. You're going to need 2 cups of heavy cream. I'm using evaporated milk because I didn't have any heavy cream. 2 cups of sweetened condensed milk. And for this, I'm using coconut cream because I didn't have any goat's milk sweetened condensed milk on hand. If there's a good recipe for that, you know, send it my way. Oh my goodness. Does it always look like that? I've never used coconut cream. If this is bad, I hope it's not bad. Oh my goodness. And here's the second one. The second one looks a lot more normal. I'm assuming, yeah, that looks normal. Whatever. I'm sure it'll be fine. So I'm going to use my hand mixer for this, and you're just going to blend both of those ingredients together. So the goal here is for your mixture to become a whipped consistency. I'm using a lot of substitutes, like I'm using evaporated milk and coconut cream. So I actually stuck mine in the refrigerator for about 2 to 3 hours, and that's what you're seeing here. If you get that whipped consistency, you don't have to do that. You can go ahead and put in the cajeta before you stick it in the refrigerator, but if it's not whipping, go ahead and put it in for 2 to 3 hours. And then this is what you're gonna come out with. So this is the consistency that I ended up with before I put the cajeta in. As you can see, they're kind of sinking, so I would recommend maybe putting it in the refrigerator for a little bit longer if you're not getting that good whipped consistency. So you're going to add a little bit and then just run your hand mixer just a little bit to scatter those pieces. And then I'm just going to cover mine with some plastic wrap and stick it in the freezer for about 6 to 8 hours. Preferably overnight if you really want it to be that nice ice cream consistency, but I wanted to be able to scoop mine out to do a good video. But definitely overnight is the way to go. Okay, so it has been 8 hours. So we're going to see what this consistency is like. You can see those little divots. I was poking it to see if it was frozen. It's not completely solid, but if I left it overnight, it definitely would be. As you can see, it is a very creamy texture, which is awesome. Obviously, you're going to get a better texture if you use an ice cream churn, but, you know, for not having an ice cream churn, the texture is really awesome, actually. And there's our ice cream. As always, guys, please don't forget to subscribe and like our page on Facebook at 1 Acre Woods Homestead. I'll see you in the next one.